very cold, brutally cold Friday.
Good to see you, Mayor.
How are you doing, Commissioner?
I'm great. I'm great.
Good.
Good morning, Eric.
Good morning, Councilman. And when you say good morning, Mayor, I think about 4 people wave back at you, Commissioner.
That's great. I'm glad to see so many interested people on this call.
I had just the hubris to assume you had directed that to me, but
Well, I actually did,
okay, good.
because I can see you there.
There's Mayor Pape too.
I see Mayor Pape, Mayor Schwach.
Yeah.
Lots of folks.
I know we have a full agenda, but I still see the participant numbers climbing, so I'll give it about another minute before I kick us off. All right, we're holding pretty steady at 43, so I will kick it off. My name is Alderman Damon Randolph. I serve as the Missouri co-chair for the first Suburbs Coalition, along with Mayor Eric Michelson, the co-chair from the state of Kansas. We'd like to welcome you to our first meeting of the year for 2022. Due to the size of the audience, we'll forego around the room or around the Zoom introductions. But we encourage attendees to, add your name, your organization, and your title into the chat box so we can get to know one another. Of course, as the meeting's going on, feel free to, share any comments or ask any questions in the chat as well. We hope you'll share your camera so we can see you. I am having technical difficulties, so while I'm sharing my camera, it is not showing. So I wasted a good sweater this morning. So we have a full agenda with no breaks. So if you need to take a break, just feel free to turn off your camera, and so we know you stepped away. If you need to take any calls or whatnot, or have some outside chatter, please make sure you're muted to respect the presenters. With that, I will turn it over to Kathy.
Thank you, Alderman Randolph. What color is your sweater?
It's black.
Okay. Wool, cotton.
So maybe it's taking up the whole camera view. Maybe that's what it is. But
all right. So not entirely. All right. Not entirely wasted then now. Good morning, everybody. I'm co-chair with Alderman Randolph. I'm Mayor Eric Michelson, City of Prairie Village. Glad to be here. Glad you're here this morning. We have a full agenda, so we're just going to get right into it. Starting with some Community for All Ages recognition awards. And hopefully you can see the screen share. We have some slides connected to this presentation. We're going to start, most of you, maybe all of you, are familiar with the Community for All Ages recognition program. It offers a structured process for local jurisdictions to advance their policies and practices and get recognized for doing so, making their communities welcoming and livable for residents of all ages. We look forward to the January, this first Suburbs Coalition meeting every year, as it provides the opportunity to present recognition awards to cities who submitted applications by the November deadline. This next slide, this shows the participating cities and the level of recognition that each has achieved. That's kind of a rich slide, so I'll just give you a second with that so you can take that in. Today, we're going to recognize 3 of those cities, starting with Merriam, Kansas. Merriam is earning a bronze level status. That city participated in activities to raise awareness of the importance of building, maintaining age-friendly cities. Next, we'll recognize Green Valley, Missouri. They previously earned bronze status, and now they're earning their silver level status. They conducted a self-assessment of their age-friendly policies and actions. And finally, this morning, we'll recognize Excelsior Springs, Missouri. Previously also was awarded bronze, and it was awarded silver. And today it will receive the gold level status by applying an age lens to their city adopted Parks and Recreation Master Plan. Our region now has 10 communities that have incorporated age-friendly principles through this policy adoption. If your city is interested in learning more about this program, please contact Lauren Palmer or Kathy Boyer-Schessel at Mark for more information. Alderman?
All righty. So recognition program applications are reviewed by a joint task force consisting of members of the Kansas City Communities for All Ages Advisory Board and the First Suburbs Coalition. We want to acknowledge and thank those who reviewed applications submitted by Merriam, Green Valley, and Excelsior Springs. From the Kansas City Communities for All Ages Advisory Board, we have Rob Gibbons, Roy Robinson, and Robert Steinkamp. And from the First Suburbs Coalition, representing the city of Gladstone, was Alan Napoli. And from the city of Mission, Emily Randall. Thank you for all of your time and expertise of going through all of the applications. And now for the recognition presentation. Congratulations to Merriam, Kansas for achieving bronze level recognition. We see on the slide a group from Merriam holding their certificate of recognition. Representing Merriam to provide a few remarks about their participation in this program is Mayor Bob Pape. Congratulations, Mayor, and the floor is all yours.
Alderman. Yeah, we want to thank you so much. It's an honor to receive the Bronze Award from Mark for the Community of All Ages program. When we started looking at this application process, we knew Merriam was a great place to live, work, and play. But this program helped us recognize additional steps that we can make to become more welcoming to residents of all ages. As this Bronze Award is for awareness, this is just the first step in our journey to enhance our understanding on what we can do to meet the challenges and better respond to an ever-growing older population. Now we will gain insights into how we can better serve this population and improve the lives of all who live in our just right city. I want to thank all the Merriam Council members for their support of the program. I'll single out my colleague and friend Chris Hands, as she was a huge champion and proponent for the city's participation. I also want to thank the Merriam Community Development Director and Department, especially David Easley, for spearheading this application process. We know that our work isn't done, and that this is just the beginning of creating and improving city services and designing programs to better accommodate our older population. We're next consider pursuing the silver distinction and continue our partnership with Mark and other agencies to help improve the lives of all who live in our community and celebrate what Merriam is already doing so well for our older adults in our city. Again, thank you for this award. We appreciate it.
About a Zoom round of applause for the city of Merriam.
Thank you. Thank you.
Nice job. Next, we're going to extend congratulations to Green Valley, Missouri for achieving their silver level recognition. We see on this slide, Green Valley representatives holding their certificate of recognition. Sarah Nadeau, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that, Green Valley's Public Information Officer, will provide a few remarks. Sarah?
Good morning, everybody. I appreciate this honor, this recognition. The city has worked together to make this happen. The path to attain silver recognition brought opportunity to bring staff from multiple departments, citizens, business owners together for some very thought-provoking meetings in which we were able to start conversations about important matters that affect and can impact our senior population. There were several meetings that were held, as you know, those of you who have participated in this recognition program are aware. A few of the ideas and recommendations that we will be considering for future include design for public spaces, replacing existing playground equipment at the park that's ADA accessible and meets needs of all regardless of age and ability. Programs and policies that we do have already in place that are in need of better communication. So we'll be examining how to better communicate those. We are going to be looking into coordinating with the Volunteers and Police Service, which is our organization that assists our police department in a way to provide welfare checks of seniors. It also brought to light some programs that we were not currently aware of that we would like to look into in the future, such as the Double Up Food Bucks through Mark. It was just really a good conversation starter, I think, across the board as we went through these meetings to kind of get the thought processes going to better serve the senior population in our community. It was enlightening to address matters that are important to so many citizens, getting that conversation started, as I said, during the assessment phase. I want to thank Mark for this program overall, especially Kathy Boyer-Schessel, who has been just a wonderful guide to, with patience with me to kind of guide me through this process and how to bring it to our community. I also want to thank Julie McLaughlin for coming to the meetings and helping to facilitate those with her masterful note taking and bringing those thoughts together for our overall program. I also want to thank our administration and the department heads and other staff who have been a great help to make this happen for us. So thank you all.
All right, thank you for those comments, Sarah. And finally, congratulations go out to Excelsior Springs, Missouri for achieving gold level recognition. We see on this slide representatives from Excelsior Springs holding their certificate of recognition. Mayor Sharon Powell will provide a few remarks. Mayor?
Thank you. And I think our first big thank you might go out to Kathy Boyer-Schessel because she has been with us from the very beginning. And we started this back in about probably 2015. I went on the council in 2014 and we started this journey back then. And she has just been with us every step of the way and we really appreciate all of her help. We've had a lot of staffing changes through these years. And so that kind of slowed us down a bit, but in retrospect, I think that was a good thing because it allowed us to really work on the principles of communities for all ages in our departments. Through this journey, we have seen significant changes in our departments. And I personally began seeing the shift when we were working on our silver level, because at that level, we were pulling all of the departments in, we were looking at policies and procedures, and they all began to see the importance of what this was trying to do for communities and to build better quality communities for all of our ages. And one of the big, most notable shifts, I think, probably came in our codes department. Because when I first came on council, our codes department was just that, it was codes. And now they've renamed themselves and they've retooled themselves and now called Community Development. And we hired a neighborhood specialist, Laura Mize, and Laura was instrumental in getting us through this gold level. But Laura is very instrumental in making sure all of our aspects of our community are being represented. And she works with the young, she works with our seniors, and she has just done a great job in developing that part of the department and making it a quality place for our community. So I would just like to thank Mark and Kathy and Lauren for all that they have done to help us move in this direction. And a big thank you to Shannon Stroud, who got us through the first 2 levels of bronze and silver, and Laura, who has gotten us through the gold level, and our city manager, Molly McGovern, and our community development director, Melinda Mahaffey, because every one of these people has seen the significance of what this program can do for us and how it's going to help build our community in the future. So thank you very much for this award.
All right, thank you for those comments, Mayor. So congratulations again to Miriam, Green Valley, and Excelsior Springs on your recognition. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your commitment to becoming welcoming and livable communities, residents of all ages. I will turn the program back over to Mayor Michelson.
Thank you, Alderman Randolph.
Eric, I wonder
Yes.
if I could just say something. I've been on the review committee for the entire program, and we love recognizing the cities and the county of Johnson, which is the only county to achieve a level of recognition. But I think we really have to applaud all of the many people on the First Suburbs Coalition who ran task forces and put the checklist together, analyzed, what makes a community for all ages, and crafted a lot of the core of the program that so many of the cities and counties are benefiting from now. So Mark is very appreciative of the First Suburbs Coalition and all the work they did to get this program up and running.
Thank you, Rob. Well said. Next item on the agenda this morning is we're going to hear from this woman who's the subject of so much high praise this morning, well-deserved. Kathy Boyer-Schessel is going to talk to us and share with us the CFAA Remodeling for Accessible Homes Universal Design Handbook and video, promoting this idea book. Kathy?
Great, thanks. And I'll take just a second to also give my personal congratulations to Miriam and Green Valley and Excelsior Springs for your incredible hard work and achievement and receiving your particular level of recognition. I work with you, and so I know just how dedicated your elected officials, department heads, and your willingness to bring in residents and other voices from your community so that your plans really do reflect a wide variety of voices and ages. And also thanks to Rob for his comments too of acknowledging the First Suburbs Coalition's role in this program. So one of the things with the communities for all ages, we've learned to appreciate how universal design is fundamental in successful aging in place, because there is nothing more fundamental to being able to age in place than to age in your home. So we've spent over the last several years considerable amount of time and effort in understanding and elevating how universal design in our public spaces and in our residents really do help to allow successful aging in place. So I just want to reference the publication that was rolled out early last year, the Accessible Home Design. Want to also thank several communities who contributed financially to that publication. We really appreciate your efforts. I'll also put in chat a link to that publication so that you have that. The next phase of helping to roll out the Accessible Accessible Home Design Guidebook is a video, a short video that we hope that you'll show at your council meetings and other meetings that you have within your community. And Mark, we hope to have within the next 2 or 3 weeks a whole series of promotional strategies and examples that we can share with you as you roll this out into your communities. So this is a video that tees up the importance of this publication, but also gives some background on why this having universally designed homes, whether they're new builds or remodeled homes, is so important. So now this is the new release of this video.
Do you have a comfortable home? A place for family and friends to gather, comfortable furniture, enjoyable backyard, a livable place, a great place to relax, parks and shopping nearby. Sometimes we take for granted how comfortable our life can be in healthy neighborhoods. We value the health, well-being, and livability of our cities and neighborhoods. And for most of us, it starts with our home. Many of us spend time making our homes comfortable and livable, adding a garden area or a porch, maybe a family room, or just updating our bathroom or kitchen. These home improvements can be part of safe and healthy communities. But are these homes and the spaces around and within them usable by everyone, from the very young to older adults, or those with a temporary physical setback from a sports injury or a hip replacement? How do we make our homes comfortable and accommodating for all of us at every stage of life? Is your home welcoming to friends and neighbors with mobility concerns, such as difficulty climbing stairs? Universal design principles can guide architects, city planners, home builders, and remodelers to help homeowners understand how to effectively and economically create safe and more useful homes for all of us throughout our lives. I'm Richard Duncan, Executive Director of the R.L. Mace Universal Design Institute. Together with Kansas City Communities for All Ages, Mid-America Regional Council, Kansas City's First Suburbs Coalition, and contributing builders, remodelers, and city planners, we have developed this guidebook, Remodeling for Accessible Homes, to help homeowners and communities plan, remodel, and build homes that are accessible and attractive. In this video, we will share some of the highlights from this free guide and point out features of this important resource. It's no surprise that there is a growing demand for homes that meet the needs of our changing population. Although many would like to remain in their own home as they grow older, some are forced to move to accommodate changing abilities. And it's not just health issues or older adults. There are life circumstances such as pregnancy, moving furniture, children and their strollers or bicycles, and many other situations that benefit from more accommodating home features. When housing can be safer and more useful by current and future residents, allowing them to age in place successfully, costly nursing home and healthcare expenses can be avoided. Multiple studies show that most older adults prefer to remain in their homes where family and community relations can be maintained, contributing to an individual's sense of place and helping to maintain community cohesiveness, neighborhood permanence, as well as individual mental and physical health. In recent years, it has become more widely recognized that many of the homes most of us live in cease to support our activities as we grow, mature, and pass through many of life's changes over time. We're learning that housing in this century must be able to meet the differing needs and requirements of users. We now know that individual characteristics such as strength or balance should not prevent a person from safely using, enjoying, and living in their home, no matter what stage of life. And renovation projects planned and completed in advance can be attractive and add value to your home at resale, as well as enhance your ability to stay in your home over time. The guidebook includes information on both universal and accessible design, providing attractive examples with a variety of visual images to help reduce the negative responses when some think of safety and functional upgrades to their home. Universal home features are usable by a wide range of people, regardless of size, age, or ability. These features work well for us at all times. For example, something really simple like full extension base cabinet drawers, and are especially useful at certain times during our lives, such as having a step-free entrance following knee surgery. Universal design elements can be added to otherwise standard renovation projects as a planning ahead option, providing general benefits to the whole family now and even greater utility later. By contrast, accessible design is almost always customized for just one person in a household. Accessibility features such as ramps or grab bars or fully accessible kitchens are absolutely necessary for those who need them. Unfortunately, they rarely add value when the home comes up for sale. Some of these accessible features may actually need to be reversed to sell the house. Consider universal design principles each time you think about updating or remodeling your home. These changes don't need to be unattractive. If they're well planned, they will save money later. The guidebook has 3 goals: provide ideas for functional home renovations, highlight accessible and universal solutions, both are covered in this guide, and provide some cost ranges to help planning for these projects. 3 of the key function areas for universal and accessible design features are entrances, bathrooms, and kitchens. The guide details both home features that are more universal, such as curbless showers or front controls on kitchen ranges, as well as features that are more accessible, like open knee space under counters and lowered kitchen wall cabinets. Sometimes we have the opportunity for larger scale renovations. Here we show a universal design option that some empty nesters might have available, converting part of an unneeded bedroom into a master bathroom. This results in an ample-sized bathroom with both a curbless shower and a tub, a toilet in the corner, and a standard vanity. And in this case, the owners have the option of using a pocket door or hinge door. The bathroom could be smaller if you eliminate, for instance, the tub. An interesting contrast the book reveals is that an accessible version of this same bathroom doesn't look very different from the universal version that we show here. This highlights the very modest customizations needed for a universal bathroom compared to what you'd be faced with converting a standard bathroom to one that is fully accessible. The book emphasizes the differences between the custom-tailored accessible features and outcomes that are higher function, yet with a broader appeal. The guide is intended to encourage homeowners to have a conversation about planning decisions for future home projects. Great time to address issues of usability is when we are already planning a renovation project. Because most of us don't live in universally designed homes, a great option is to include universal design features as a part of otherwise standard remodeling projects, such as modifying an entrance when replacing a porch or changing your landscaping, including better lighting and multiple work surface heights in kitchens, or even adding easy-to-use door hardware. When working with designers and contractors, use this guide to introduce accessibility and universal design ideas.
Well, particularly with universal design, that makes the house more livable for anybody, whether they're disabled or old or not. It opens up a higher pool, if you will, of potential buyers for that home. So from a builder and a developer standpoint, the universal design guidelines just seem to make good business sense.
This is one of the reasons why we have included universal design options throughout this guide. Universal design features often make good business sense. These features are generic, but still very high function. As such, they add value to the home as they are marketable to a mainstream audience. And another key element of universal homes is that they're easy to customize when needed, because even universal homes will need to be customized at some point. But when we do so, we're talking about projects in the range of $500 to $1,500, not the $50,000 or $150,000 for major projects that most traditional homes might require to accommodate us if our abilities change. This obviously results in big cost savings down the line.
Now, I'll say this, the challenge for cities is not just to focus on that demographic. We also have to be attracting the young families. You know, it's a city for all ages concept. But that's where universal design is so important, because that appeals to all and accommodates all capabilities, all ages. And that's, I think, really the direction we want to go. And that's hopefully the direction the market will continue to go.
As much as we packed into this publication, there's a lot more information on these topics, so please make use of the resource section. This guide is a toolkit for accessible home design and how it supports successful aging in place. It also explores the roles different sectors of the housing industry play to promote accessible home design and livability. You can find a link to download the guide below or through Mid-America Regional Council's website. Thank you.
All right. Next on the agenda, we have Regional Housing Partnership and Housing Data Hub updates. Today, I introduce Katie Killen. Katie is Mark's new Regional Housing Program Manager. She started in November and is leading the launch of the Regional Housing Partnership. Aaron Cardwell from Mark's Research Services team is working on the development of the Housing Data Hub. Katie, I hand the floor to you to update us on this ongoing work.
Thank you, Alderman. And Aaron, if you want to go ahead and pull the slide deck up, I can kind of talk as you're getting that ready. So yes, Katie Killen, I'm very excited to be here at Mid-America Regional Council. I started at the very end of November. Just a little bit about my background. I do have a background in local government, public administration. Some of you might remember me when I worked for the city of Shawnee, Kansas. But more recently, I earned a law degree and had a focus on the practice and public interest around community development and housing. So very excited to be here working on this important issue with you all in the region. I just wanted to give you a few updates on what I have been working on. I hit the ground running there in November. We are working to stand up the steering committee that will guide this long-term work of the Regional Housing Partnership. So you'll hear more about that in the next month or so. And additionally, moving forward items that have come before the First Suburbs Coalition, specifically working with Chess Inc. on a program for satellite homeownership centers, and then also working to hire a consultant to advance looking at that regional framework of a community land trust or a similar model around affordability. And then finally, been working very closely with our research services group here on this baseline data hub that we're going to present with you today, and that you can go explore on your own time as well afterwards. So without further ado, here's our presentation about this data hub. So the purpose of today is really just to let you see the functionality, how the baseline data has been put in there. Aaron's going to walk you through how we've kind of set things up. You'll see there's maps and also different graphs and demographic information. I will say that this is very baseline. We will be phasing and making this more robust in the months to come. And as we finish up the presentation, we'll kind of talk about that phasing and how we hope you will be part of that, offering feedback, and also any staff members that might be interested, or if you're interested in being part of more conversations to get really into detail about how this is developed. And now I'll turn it over to Erin.
Thank you, Katie. Good morning, everyone. So to start, we're just going to give you a little bit of background of where we've been, where we are today with a demonstration, as Katie mentioned, and then a little bit about our phasing plan. So in terms of where we've been, if we were lucky enough to have you in the October meeting, thank you. We listened to your feedback. It was very good and helped us define our site map or the hierarchy of the site as it is today, and will continue to inform the further developments. We also have learned through our feedback that the research questions that people hope to answer when visiting this resource vary depending on what type of user group they're coming from and what their role is, and how they might be interacting with the website. And we also learned that there are some questions that we, couldn't really include in our phase one, which is what we'll show you today, but certainly we'll keep developing and keep top of mind as we continue into the next levels of our phasing plan. So our phase one really focused on ACS data. That's what you're going to see today. It's a trusted resource, so we wanted to make sure that we were using something that's an agreed upon, validated resource and is available at all of the municipalities that we wanted to include for the MARC region. And we also heard from this user group and others that the UCS studies were really well appreciated, the maps that came out of that, which I can show you an example of here. You would have seen if you were part of the October meeting, that they were well appreciated. And so we wanted to show you how we've kind of transferred that to a regional level and also made it interactive through this website tool. So on the left, you'll see here percent of renter occupied units by city in Johnson County. And on the right is a screenshot from the Housing Hub as we will demo it for you today. So if you would like to interact with it on your own, we encourage you to go to marc.org/housing data hub. And I'm actually going to transition from here to a web browser. So marc.org, housing data hub. And so you'll be taken to a demographics page to start. I'm going to start on that renter occupancy page just to show you the translation from that Johnson County housing study. So you can see here the percent of renter occupied units by census tract. If you select into a certain census tract, you can see more information on that given tract. You can also search a place or an address if you would like to. So I'll look up Mid-America Regional Council. If you're not sure which census tract you fall in, and you'll be taken to that place, and you can kind of zoom out a little bit more if you'd like, and then click in there and get more information about the census tract of the address that you're looking for. So we've included those maps for renter occupancy, owner occupancy, total occupancy. Vacancy is something that we discussed in our meeting in October with this group. So hopefully that will be a valuable resource to you as well. We have housing density and age of the housing stock as well. So this is housing unit by median year built. And again, you can kind of see that and click around on your own. I will say, as Katie mentioned, we are definitely in phase one, so we will continue building out more maps as we hear more areas of interest, and we certainly have heard things that are not yet included as well. So we'll show you in a minute how to submit your feedback through a couple of different channels. So just to give you kind of an overview of the elements, this is what I refer to as our sitemap or hierarchy. We have a demographics, category, supply, and costs. And each of those have an overview page as well as other subcategories of that particular area of information. I'm going to do household size, and maybe I want to look at family households only. And so here you can see the number of people in a household as a percentage of households. And you can see those by, here we're looking at county. You can also look at them by place if you wanted to look at a specific city. And say you wanted to compare yourself to a peer city or a couple of different peer cities, you can also drop down and select a couple of different cities. And you can view those next to each other as comparisons. There's also an option to look at 2014 ACS data. So this is 5-year census data. And so if you wanted to perhaps see the change over time, you can look at 2014 and 2019 and see how those demographic pieces have changed in the 5-year period. Under supply, you'll find stock, occupancy, tenure, and age. So this, for example, age category would be similar to what you see on the map, but in a graphical form. And if you wanted to know kind of what's a middle ground for age, you can look at this 50% mark in the middle here and say, you know, where are things trending above or below average for those structures by year built. And again, those same interactive tools on the left-hand side to look at the summary level, geography, and the ACS year. For costs, we have rental costs, purchase costs, and affordability. So in terms of affordability, we're looking at here gross rent as a percent of income. And so these percentages are the percent of income that is the gross rent. And you can look at those again by county. On the bottom left, we're looking at cost burden renters, which here is defined as gross rent being greater than 30% of income. And so this is looking at renters. We can also look at owners. And then this is a mortgage as a percent of income. And so one takeaway that you might have from this is that cost burdened owners are a much smaller percentage than cost burdened renters here at 43%. So I encourage you again to go ahead and get on the site and poke around. You'll notice on each of the pages we have this page is in draft form, so we're very much looking for people to get in here and point out anything that you feel needs to be changed or could be improved upon. And the way that you can submit your feedback is under this FAQ page. There is a quick feedback form. It's just asking any questions, recommendations, or feedback, and then also like what your role is in the regional housing ecosystem. This is an optional question, so if you don't want to answer it, you don't have to. You can also be a member of a couple of different user groups, so you can select multiple answers there and go ahead and submit it. So this is one channel of feedback, and we also invite you to be more involved in some other feedback groups that Katie will mention, but just shifting back to this phasing schedule, wanted to kind of give you that overview of where we're going next. So right now you're looking at our phase 1 baseline product that's focusing on ACS data, and it's really an opportunity for us to get something in front of you and other users and ask what you are looking for above and beyond what is there. So hopefully it will inspire some more research questions and points of interest that you can share with us to include on phase 2 and 3. So phase 2 will be prioritizing additional data sets to include in this resource and adding functionality as we hear from our different user groups. And for phase 3, we will have kind of our public promotion or our publicly promoted product. So, you know, on the mark.org website, have a bit of promotion materials around about this, and really try to get it in front of as many people as possible with expanded data sets and additional context provided as well. And each of these phases will be influenced by what we hear from you. So again, really encouraging you to participate in this feedback cycle. And Kate, I'll turn it back over to you. Thank you. You're muted, sorry.
I realized that really quickly. Thank you, Erin. And like she said, there is a spot online. So if you're going through the site itself and have feedback on functionality, visualization, this data doesn't seem to, you know, compute with what I'm thinking, we do want to have an FAQ page that will be pretty robust in explaining, you know, where the data is coming from and how the data from ACS is defined. So please give us that feedback as well. But also, like I said, hoping to have folks that would be interested in having larger conversations around prioritizing and trying to answer some of the big questions of the region around this. We know that's going to be a really broad user set. And so want to get as many of those folks in the room to talk about it. And I'm got my email here, and I will also put it on the chat. So if you'd like to be part of that type of a group, please contact me directly and we can get things started. So if you have any quick questions today, we will be happy to answer those as well.
We are well ahead of schedule, so don't hold back if you have comments or questions for Katie about the hub. Anyone?
I just want to congratulate you. It is absolutely tremendous. I can't wait to dig into it. Our housing task force is going to make terrific use of this information as we're trying to move forward with decisions. Great job. My goodness, it's just amazing.
Hear, hear.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Aaron, Katie. Appreciate that. What a practical, helpful tool that is becoming for cities and all of us. Next on the agenda, we're going to talk about the Small Business Economic Recovery Program, particularly with Overland Park and Independence's work in that area. I'd like to introduce Michael Carmona and Phyllis Hardwick from the Community Capital Fund. That CCF strengthens the financial, human, and social capital of under-resourced neighborhoods in the greater Kansas City region. They bring an innovative approach to community engagement. Today, they're sharing about their work with the cities of Overland Park and Independence to support small business economic recovery, particularly in underserved neighborhoods and businesses. Michael and Phyllis.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Mayor. I wish I could have recorded it. My mother would have loved to have heard it. Not every day do I get introduced by a mayor. So my name is Phyllis Hardwick. I'm the Executive Director of Community Capital Fund. It's really a privilege to be here and sharing just a little bit of what we've learned from the field by working in partnership with some members of your coalition. I also want to give a special shout out to the city of Kansas City, Missouri, and the city of Shawnee as well. We've partnered with you guys on different efforts. I know whenever you're presenting, you can always kind of be positioned as the expert on the content. And while we are very confident in what we've learned and are excited to share our learnings from the field, I know a lot of cities and counties have taken on similar work. And so if you have other things to share, please welcome. I really hope that this is a great opportunity for us to learn from one another on a really, really great topic that is top of mind for a lot of folks in the region. So just to kind of also cue up my partner in crime, my director of programs, Michael Carmona. He will also be supporting me in going over some of this content. The old teacher in me knows that some folks like to know exactly where we're going so they can prepare and buckle up and put on their seatbelt. So here are the topics that we'll be touching on today. And we'll go a little bit over the history of CCF, who we are, what we do. Also, why we think it's really exciting to present and talk to y'all today. There's quite a bit of alignment with the values of our organization and the First Suburbs Coalition. We also just want to give some considerations for grant management. A lot of folks who've never possibly run a grant management program to the scale that may be under consideration with the new funds coming in. We want to kind of just give you some best practices and some ideas of what we've learned and things that you want to look out for. Also common challenges, that things that come up. Frankly, I tell folks that it's always exciting for us to partner together and nothing but great feedback is given about your program and not headlines that may not actually capture the intent of what you were trying to do as a municipality. Lastly, there will be hopefully a robust Q&A portion. So if you're jotting down those questions as we're going along, I can only think through what I can think through, and there may be some additional areas of information that you want to engage with, and I'm more than happy to spend some time there. With that, I will kick it over to Michael.
All right. And I do want to mention, Phyllis, before we get started, Rob. Rob is one of our board members, so there's a little bit of pressure on us, I think, if we miss out on some important pieces of history for CCF. But Rob can also jump in anytime he would like to. But just want to share a little bit about CCF and our history. We've been around 10 years now, which is pretty exciting. We were just talking about what are we going to do for the 10-year anniversary of CCF, but when the organization was started in 2012, it really was an idea from a group of folks, Rob included, who really thought, what else can be done to provide capital to small businesses, to neighborhood groups in Kansas City. We're fortunate to have a very strong relationship with our sister organizations, AltCap and Equity Square. And the idea of all three organizations working together is that we're taking a collective approach to providing capital into the same communities. So we're stacking capital in unique ways with loans, with grants, and with equity, and definitely excited to be sharing more in the future about the work of all three organizations. Basically, our hallmark for how we do the work is really to engage communities first as we develop programs. We understand that a lot of the work that we're doing and the beneficiaries of the programs are the folks in the communities. And as we develop these grassroots focused programs, we want to make sure that everything from how applications look like to what is actually being measured in terms of success really has the input of those same communities. And I tell Phyllis, in the perfect world, communities, the groups that we work with, they're taking that data and they're the ones actually moving forward with action on that same data that they're helping pull through the programs.
And so you may be wondering exactly how does that community engagement drive towards outcomes and what are those types of programs that we're managing? At the end of the day, we're a grant manager, and that's something that's at the heart of our work. That was how we were started and founded, with managing something called the Neighborhood Rising Fund, which provided small but mighty capital dollars to neighborhood associations, a program that is still in existence and just growing every day. And so the quick ticket for that is that we get dollars out the door. Those can be funds that we raise, like through Neighborhood Rising Fund, or that could be in partnership where we're serving as an intermediary for others. Particularly, we take that community engagement approach and make sure that those dollars can find hard to reach places. I think everybody has an idea of, when you think of small business, who that recipient is. It may be the mom and pop cupcake store up the street that's been around for 45 years. And you may not necessarily be successful getting those dollars to that business without that kind of community engagement driven approach. Secondly, we support neighborhoods, and this will always be centered to our mission as an organization. There are different challenges and different opportunities and different types of resources from all of our neighborhoods if we look at the 7-county area that we work in. And so we really pride ourselves on trying to understand what are the specific challenges for many of those hard to reach neighborhoods. And for definition, that's typically low to moderate income neighborhoods. Lastly, that community engagement will be something that you hear throughout our presentation, because again, it's our hallmark and it's a center of what we do. We do that through organizing convenings where neighborhood leaders are learning from one another. Stakeholders are invited to those meetings. And so some of you may have been to our community development workshop, which is entering its 10th year, something else that we're excited about, where we bring those neighborhood leaders together, where they're all collectively problem solving around issues that many of them are facing at the same time. Last year's, our session was on small business, because you can't get thriving neighborhoods without a thriving small business sector. We also manage community engagement initiatives. And so that can be capacity building support for community leaders. So many of them are volunteers and they may not have back office support to pull off some of the projects that they have in mind. We see ourselves as that additional resource and opportunity for our neighborhoods.
All right, so Phyllis and I, when we were planning a little bit, we wanted to make sure that part of the discussion is also aligning with some of the items that the Suburbs Coalition has on the website. So just wanted to discuss 3 specific areas of the work that CCF does. In the placemaking, Neighborhoods Rising Fund by far has been the most exciting program for us, just to be able to see the importance of providing funds to neighborhoods to lead development and revitalization, and more importantly, preservation projects. We hear a lot of great stories from folks. One, for example, of an individual who was planning to leave their neighborhood because they just didn't really think there was too much happening in the place, and come to find out they helped lead the project and decided that they wanted to stay there long term. So that placemaking opportunity that the Neighborhoods Rising Fund provides to neighborhoods is very important. Social inclusion, communication, and participation. Throughout the year, CCF does host presentations. We do that through information sessions for different grant programs, little convenings that we do with neighborhoods, and more importantly, the community development workshop, which is the annual convening where we bring organizations and individuals from different sectors of community development to discuss how they're addressing similar issues. We say that it's exciting when we can connect folks from Missouri with folks from Kansas who may live in very different neighborhoods, different makeups, but are having the same problems, and making sure that they can work together and partner to address best practices and look to build their neighborhoods and overall build the region together. So a little bit about our grants management considerations. So Phyllis did say we are a grant making organization, and definitely thanks to partners like Overland Park, Independence, Shawnee, and the city of Kansas City, we've been able to get better at that too, I think. And one of the things that really has been important for us to consider is having that community engagement period as we are managing our grant programs. We want to ensure that the resources are meeting the needs and providing early marketing opportunities. In many cases with the cities that we worked with, we not only have done engagement through online, through in-person, but we've also visited businesses, understanding that most of the times for small businesses, the owner really can't get out of their space. So presenting the opportunity to them at their location helps drive more awareness for the program and adds a level of credibility and just comfort for that business to understand that there are people out there looking to help them. We also consider structure with equity. Those of us, of course, that have been managing federal funds, CDBG, and now ARPA, understand the restrictive guidelines of those particular programs. We want to make sure that while we're working under those guidelines, we still are looking at an opportunity to get dollars out to priority recipients who we know will need those dollars the most in order to sustain their businesses and their livelihoods. Technical assistance is an important piece to the work that we've done. We realize that those recipients with the highest need, who could really use the dollars the most, usually are the same ones that have a difficult time applying for these programs. So CCF, what we've done throughout the period while helping people apply for the program, and then during the reporting period, we have staff available to work through with them, help walk them through what's needed in order to complete the different stages of their applications. And then also the last piece is just application curing. We understand that businesses are struggling. There's a lot of emotional drain on these same individuals who are applying, and we don't want to exclude applicants for simple errors that occur. So throughout the period, we work closely. If we receive the wrong documentations, we follow up and make sure that we're getting what we need, again, in order to comply with the different guidelines, but also being flexible with those businesses to ensure that we are finding opportunities to get the dollars to them. With that, it does take a little bit more time for that technical assistance, but at the end, we are ensuring that those dollars are getting to the folks who need it the most.
It does. And I know that some of you may have kind of grant management responsibilities of staff on your team, and you're trying to overlay that with some of the community concerns and kind of just the moment we're in right now around diversity, equity, inclusion, and ensuring that resources are going to all members of your community. And so these are just those things that we've learned have been helpful to overlay with just the basic responsibilities of making grants, whether that is to an entity like a small business or to a resident. If you look at whom you fund it and it does not match the representation of your city or the members of your city, that can typically be one data point where you want to kind of consider if any of these four things are creating some challenges in your grant making process and want to explore that. Continue to move forward with kind of what we've learned that we hope can be helpful to y'all as y'all think through some of these grant making opportunities and community engagement opportunities. There are some common challenges that grant makers have had, and whether you talk to a large family foundation like the Kauffman Foundation or a small grant maker like ourselves that have been giving Neighborhood Rising Fund out for 10 years, there can be some things that just come up that you want to always kind of be mindful of, specifically with the onus of considering you all's role as municipalities and counties and and folks that typically are working with dollars that you may not always be responsible for creating the rules, but following them falls under your purview. These are some challenges that I may say, and you say, like, I got a testimony, right? The first one is that narrow funding rules can lead to a leftover of funds, which is frustrating, right? I wish that this was sometimes considered in some of the editorial work, sometimes that in the reporting that we see from some of our local media agencies. It is not always as easy to get dollars out the door if there's a lot of restrictions on what those dollars can go to and who they can fund. And so what we found to be successful for solving that challenge is increased engagement times and additional marketing efforts are just critical to getting the word out. As Michael said, if you have a community engagement period before you actually launch a grant, it can take, you can actually leverage that as another opportunity to kind of communicate the program and signal to the community that the program is coming. You also may have the common problem of oversubscribed funds. You put out a grant and you think that, you'll get 50 applicants for the $250,000 funding, and you look up and you have a 1,000 and you're like, oh my goodness, what do I do? Well, that coupled with rolling deadlines can actually lead to you not being able to get those dollars to those hard to reach places. And I actually think that this is one of the common triggers that lead to some of the frustrations. We saw this at a national level with the PPP program, right? If you had a relationship with the data came out later that if you had a prior relationship with the banker, that banker may have proactively reached out to you and actually allowed you to walk through that application. And so you were ready to go once the applications were ready to be accepted. If you were a small business and you were trying to establish a relationship with a bank, your chances of getting those initial rounds of PPP funding were very difficult. And we saw clear trends around diversity and equity to that issue. And so you always want to be super mindful if you are going to have a rolling deadline and what you perceive to be an oversubscribed program. If you switch to a definitive deadline, applications are due April 15th, and give yourself and your staff some time to be able to review those applications, you actually can set up scoring and guidelines that prioritize those hard to reach places or those highest need groups. And you actually can make grants in a way that's actually aligned to that intent, which, to kind of hammer home that point, it's unfrustrating and it's something that I think we all want to avoid, which is the outcome not matching the intent. You may have the intent to get dollars to small businesses, and next thing you look up, you're funding businesses with employees over 500, while meeting the federal definition of what a small business is. In our regional context, that doesn't necessarily match the intent of what most folks think about when they think about funding small business grant programs. So this is, again, why that community engagement point is critical. Your recipients are one of the best wealths of information to give you feedback on whether or not your application is too lengthy, whether or not how you're asking for information is not aligned to actually how they procure or can organize that information that you need to evaluate their applications. And so, again, having that community engagement period where you can hear from your recipients, understand their needs, and take whatever opportunity you have to both, like Michael said, meet the rules of the program, but shape it to where it meets that your current context can really lead to you having a really successful grant program.
And then the last piece that we want to just share a little bit about community engagement best practices. Again, the canvassing has really worked out. We understand, especially right now with the push to move to a lot of virtual, that there still are a lot of businesses that don't have access to regular services and internet, or don't really know to go on Facebook and hear about the program. So the canvassing has worked out really well. I think when we first launched the first round of Overland Park, we reached out to well over 400 businesses on foot, in the city to make them aware. And it was surprising that even after we had put out Facebook ads and done the email announcements, that there were still a good amount of people who weren't aware of the program until we had gone to their business to present the opportunity. The phone surveys, we're looking to do that through a new grant program that the City of Overland Park is designing with ARPA funds. So help to get a better idea, not only on what the businesses need, but really what the best use of the funds can be. This actually provides us a great opportunity. As we mentioned before, we understand the guidelines of what funds can be spent on and the types of businesses that those dollars can support. Those phone surveys that we'll be managing will help us better define who those priority businesses are and what the best uses of those dollars will be. And then the partner outreach is definitely something that's worked out really well with us at each city, working closely with local chambers and other organizations, economic development groups, to help get the word out about those programs. Really important piece, I think probably, Phyllis, we talk about this in the office all the time, the systems piece, right? Definitely building a good system is important. Through the progress of the program, we've actually put out a lot more dollars than what we've been used to. We've managed more grants than what we've been used to. When CCF first started, it took us 9 years to disperse $1 million. And since the start of 2021, we've done well over that through the different grant programs that we manage. So what that requires is a good grant management tool to allow our staff to be able to spend more time on the work that's important. If we can automate some of the processes with those tools, collection of information, reviewing, reporting, automate some of that stuff, then our team is able to support those businesses a lot better with that one-on-one technical assistance, because they're spending less clicks on the computer to review those applications. And then again, just really seeking out the partners. We again have had really strong partnerships and been really fortunate. Independence, for example, this Economic Development Corporation provided space for us to be present in the city, to allow folks to come to the office who had questions. We say even if we get 1 or 2 people throughout that period, that's definitely 1 or 2 more that would have not been able to get that assistance for that program and be able to apply.
So this is my favorite part of the presentation, where hopefully Michael and I are not talking as much, besides saying thank you so much for having the opportunity just to share a little bit of what we've learned from the field. Again, we have been humbled to be able to partner with some local groups to take on this work and apply what we've learned from just being in the community and being in neighborhoods and being a neighborhood-centric organization for years. To this new kind of area of supporting cities and municipalities as they think about these grant programs. Now, that being said, y'all may have a lot of questions about what we shared, about what you're thinking about. You may want to take this as an opportunity to kind of kick around an idea of what that your city is thinking about. I believe we have a few minutes to be able to engage in that way. And there's already a hand up from Councilmember Davis. And so thank you so much for being that brave soul to get us going.
Thank you very much. I'm very interested in what you're doing. And it was a pleasant surprise because we've been thinking about some of the ways that we can engage our small businesses and mission. One of the questions I have is the surveys that you do. What are the nature of the surveys? What kind of information do you gather in those surveys if we were to engage your organization for that purpose?
Yeah, so it depends on the program and the purpose of the program. So if I think about our support and our work that we're doing with Overland Park, and Erin is here and she has no problem letting me know if I'm on track or not with something. But it's really important for us to make sure that we are serving areas that have not received assistance before. So a lot of our questions for the city of Overland Park are around, have you received grant funding support or loan support? If not, why? So that when we're actually building the program and putting that together, we're not replicating that concern. If you've had challenges, for instance, preparing financial statements, because financial statements have been the only form that grant managers in the past have liked to underwrite, then we actually want to create a program where we can underwrite based on bank statements, for instance. So businesses that have that similar concern can still find our grant program to be accessible. So it really depends on the priority of the program. And again, it's directly linked to that community engagement piece. where your businesses are saying, we need X, Y, and Z. And you actually are getting the data to say, yes, this is actually a demonstrated need. And this is how we want to tackle and create a response that's aligned to that need of businesses.
And how are you working with the chambers of commerce?
They are actually one of the groups that can amplify our grant program is one of the primary considerations that we leverage those partners for. They also, of course, have demonstrated records in advocacy. And so they will let us know if what they're hearing from their members is misaligned from either our intent of the program or how we've structured the guidelines to prioritize whom we've defined as kind of highest need or most in need. They're a great resource for us in that way.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, council member. Oh, maybe I may need to put up the big one because I just have the small view. Let me do the gallery view. So if there's more questions, I can see them all at once. And Lauren and other folks, don't hesitate to let me know if I'm missing someone who has their hand up.
Phyllis, there's
Stacy.
Oh, go ahead.
Hi there. I can't get my video working, which may be for the best anyway. But good morning. My name is Stacey. Hi there. I'm Stacy Johnson Cosby. I'm a realtor. And so I'm going to have a couple of statements and then a question for you. So for me, for over 30 years, housing has been important for me, neighborhoods, community, all things that you said. I'm also a housing creator and provider. A lot of people don't look at us as small businesses, but we are. And we're in every community creating housing, whether it's rental housing or buying and renovating and flipping housing. And we are small businesses that a lot of people don't see. And so I'm excited to hear you talk about small businesses. I'm excited to hear you talk about neighborhoods. And my hope and my question is that there is a way for you to serve small businesses that create housing. Because again, we're in every neighborhood and many times we're volunteers in our neighborhoods. It's important to build neighborhoods. And you mentioned something too about equity. A lot of small businesses, they couldn't get funds for bigger businesses and are not interested in bigger businesses, default to housing and creating housing. So we are everywhere. And it would be great to have our small businesses stay in business because during the pandemic, we are losing a lot of our housing to out-of-town corporate investors that are coming in, buying a lot of our housing stock, and we're losing local small business housing providers. Do you have programs that can support us and keep us in place in all of the various communities in our metro?
Stacey, you bring up a great opportunity for me to highlight something. Most of the programs that we run typically have target industries that are key to support, right? And so sometimes that can be main street businesses, sometimes that can be travel tourism industries, and sometimes that can be an individual resident, depending upon the program that we're running. We actually are rarely deciding that in a vacuum. It's up to our municipal partners or whoever is providing us the grants for us to manage to make that decision. But you know, if I take the City of Overland Park ARPA's example, that community engagement period is welcome to all, regardless of industry, just because we want to hear and get that data from everyone so that we actually can come up and support a program and stand up a program that's aligned to the needs of the city, that also is aligned to the priorities of the city. So I appreciate your question. I would love the opportunity to kind of talk to you offline further, just because I think that there's always an opportunity for us to think about that work in deeper ways.
Absolutely. And I'd also like to say too, that our alliance, we formed an alliance of housing creators and providers across our metro. We represent over 100,000 rental units in our area. And so there are opportunities for us within cities that need more affordable housing to partner, to work with people to say, what do we need to do as a city, as a community, to encourage more of my peers to create housing in neighborhoods. And so we are here and we're willing to talk to any city and municipality to work with them to create more affordable housing, particularly at this time. And Phyllis, I'm going to send you a note because I would love to talk to you and Michael.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And then Janae, I see your question in the chat. My apologies, because you sent that like 6 minutes ago and I just missed it. So we're a nonprofit, and so our revenue is blended. The first stream of revenue is that we do get an administrative fee for managing grants. And then the second stream of revenue is philanthropy. Usually the administrative fee that we get is short. It's a shortfall. And so we operate a loss that way. And so we rely on philanthropy to be able to offset that difference for us. All right, Lauren, please continue to do what you did before and help me out if I'm missing any other questions or anybody. I'm scrolling through the pictures to see if there's any hands raised.
Well, while people are digesting your great content and thinking of their questions, I'll just add here, if I may, just appreciate you all coming to present this morning. And for our coalition, with these first suburbs meetings, we really try to showcase innovative programs and projects that we see happening around the region. And when I learned about the work that CCF is doing with Independence and Overland Park and the small business grants, I just thought it would be good program content for the First Suburbs Coalition, because I know that many of you are doing small business programs, have used your CARES Act dollars in that way, and are looking at using additional ARPA funds to support the business communities in your area. And I really appreciated the work that they are doing with that community engagement to try to reach some businesses that maybe wouldn't ordinarily be the ones that would interact with city government or be involved in these kind of public grant programs. So really just wanted to put this forward to you as food for thought as you are designing your programs, thinking about how to use those stimulus dollars and really support your communities. Just hope that this sparks some thinking about maybe different strategies that you can use to make sure that you are really connecting with all the different businesses in your communities.
Thanks, Lauren. I appreciate that. We have not done the sharing very well. And so it was great for Lauren to give us this opportunity to practice this. If you see Michael and I, usually we have on jeans and very comfortable shoes because we are walking in neighborhoods and interacting with businesses. So it's been nice to put on a blazer and be able to capture a little bit of our thinking. So we appreciate that opportunity. Jan, I see you have a question for us.
Yes, and actually Lauren's comments addressed it a little bit, the rationale behind having you present to us. You mentioned with Overland Park, you were working with their ARPA funds to get out to the small businesses. Are there other communities? I guess I'd be particularly interested on the Kansas side in Johnson County that are working with you in a similar fashion.
Yeah, so we're working with the city of Shawnee on their CDBG dollars. That program is actually right now in planning, and we'll be launching it actually in, I think it's the end of February. And then as far as other work on the Kansas side, it's actually been us providing dollars into that area. And so a lot of Kansas neighborhoods do qualify for our Neighborhood Rising Fund, which is a fund that we actually fundraise to be able to allocate. And we grant those dollars directly to neighborhoods on the Kansas side as well.
Are those based on similarly the dollars for CDBG with the census tracts? And
we do target specifically low to moderate income neighborhoods for those dollars. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
And Jan, correct me if I'm wrong, Phyllis, but I think Overland Park was your first big program, and you're still working with Overland Park on new projects. So that's on the Kansas as well.
And so always with her great timing, Erin has her hand up. And so I'll let her go ahead and take it from there.
Thanks, Phyllis. I just wanted to share that we're very grateful to have really kind of happened across CCF with an announcement of coronavirus funds back in 2020 through the CARES Act for our CDBG program. It gave us an opportunity to get in touch with people who need quickly. And we worked with the chambers, we worked with our council members and other staff to find a way to get money out. And we found that businesses were really hurting. And so we only had a couple people on staff, and none of us had ever done a small business program. And kind of coincidentally, we came across an article in the Kansas City Business Journal about AllCap and how they are a CDFI, Community Development Financial Institution. And we said, maybe they could help us. And so after having some conversations with AllCap, they're like, I think Community Capital Fund, our sister partner, would be a great organization to work with. And so, you know, we really worked together to come up with this program. We learned a lot. We received funding in 2 rounds. So we were able to get $200,000 out to small businesses for the first round. And then we learned some things. We made adjustments. We talked to the chambers again. We listened to the businesses who were giving us feedback. And so we made adjustments when we received our second round of funding, and we've now given out $485,000 in additional funding for businesses for the second round. And that, successful partnership with CCF made us confident when we received the ARPA funds and identified that businesses were still struggling, that we were confident moving forward with CCF to continue with a $3 million program with them that we have some public engagement meetings starting next week. So it's been a great partnership. And I know that we've gotten a lot of feedback, positive feedback from businesses that this has been very impactful for them to be able to keep employees and stay in business.
Thank you so much, Erin. And we owe a lot to the city of Overland Park just for being a really thoughtful, engaged partner. Whenever we are trying to pitch around a new idea, like the phone surveys, they say, let's give it a shot. And how can we support you guys to that end? So thank you, Erin. I appreciate that. Even though you always have that Jayhawk poster in your office, it's fine. Everybody can be friends. I did see a couple questions about Neighborhood Rising Fund, and so I'll go ahead and address that. Neighborhood Rising Fund is a fund that we fundraise for. We rely on philanthropy dollars for that. Typically, those dollars do come with the hope that they go to low to moderate income neighborhoods, and so we use census tract designations to define that. Those dollars are $3,000 to $5,000 grants for small but mighty projects. This past year, we received some institutional-based funding from a big business here on the Missouri side. And so we were actually able to grow that fund for 2-year grants up to $10,000 for neighborhood associations to take on what we call small but mighty projects. There was a question to talk about some impactful projects, which makes Michael and I smile because we love to brag on Neighborhood Rising Fund projects. And so this really gives us an opportunity to kind of pick some of the ones that we think are the coolest. I have a personal affinity for the placemaking projects, and that's just because I actually live in a neighborhood before CCF. I actually didn't know about CCF and had already been a recipient of CCF's support, which I think is a reality of a lot of folks. But we actually had a pocket park and an orchard in our neighborhood planted, which of course allows for, frankly, illegal dump remediation and placemaking at the same time. And so you get the opportunity to create convening spaces for your neighborhood, to be able to do some work and learn from one another. There was actually a snowball fight just hosted in our pocket park this past week, while at the same time tackling a common concern that some neighborhoods have around illegal dumping efforts. And so those will always be close to my heart. We've grown a significant number of orchards. We've supported some placemaking efforts also in KCK in the West Height neighborhoods. So those are the projects that I tend to like the most. I'm waiting for those orchards to get 7 years, because at 7 years they can give me apples, because they'll have more than just the number of apples they need for their neighborhood. So excited about that. Michael, do you have any other NRF projects that come to mind that you would like to shed a light on?
I think for us, we see a lot of neighborhoods talking about youth development and youth opportunities. And there's been several groups that have included the youth and using the projects, the program to build leadership skills of the youth. One good example, Town Fork Creek here in Kansas City, Missouri, they've done a really great job of building out a block captain or block quadrant program. So through the funds, each person is responsible for hosting one neighborhood meeting throughout the year, and they are given a small budget, able to design how the meeting is set up, but it allows for the next stage of leaders within that neighborhood to be given that opportunity to engage and be leaders in their neighborhoods. And that's been a really exciting project, in my opinion.
I think the important part about the CCF Neighborhood Rising is it's for capacity building. And that is a very broad topic. The capacity building in terms of social networking and having a party or cleanup or a park or youth activities. So I think the main thing is to contact CCF and find out how they can support what you think is capacity building in your neighborhoods.
Hey, Rob, and I can add to that too. I think definitely something that we want to add on for a lot of the neighborhoods that have been supported through that particular program, Neighborhoods Rising Fund. For a lot of them, it's the first grant that a neighborhood may get access to. And there are some that are happy with making sure that they're just covering the basic needs. And there's others that are using this as an opportunity to develop a portfolio so they can take on larger projects. One example, we have a neighborhood leader that is now taking on a $1 million project with the city of Kansas City, Missouri, after managing several Neighborhoods Rising Funds projects. So that's just one example of capacity building and how the small $5,000 grant helps provide skills in project management, leveraging funding to take on those bigger opportunities.
And also, Logan, I see your question in the chat. I was like trying to type an answer, but also was cued into what Michael was saying. And so I didn't do either extremely well. But Michael, I'm sure that was awesome. Logan, CDCs exist with the mission of revitalizing neighborhoods. We're most commonly structured as nonprofits. But it is a designation that allows you to position and associate with other groups that have similar missions so that you can organize and learn from one another. So we feel like and have put neighborhood work at the heart of what we do, and it will be the heart of our mission moving forward, in addition to some of these small business efforts that we've taken on in past years. All right, I'm gonna do a scroll through one last time before I kick it back to you, Mayor. I think we're good. Well, thanks again so much for y'all's time. Like I said, Michael and I typically are in neighborhoods and doing other type of work, so to have the opportunity to present in front of y'all is something that we really appreciate. We are here, even if you just want. I had a conversation with the city a couple of weeks ago that actually internally manages grant programs, and they just wanted to kick around some ideas. And so we're always available just to be a resource. We are a nonprofit, and so we just exist to make sure that support is happening in neighborhoods and small businesses we think are critical to that end. So my email is on there. Feel free to shoot me an email. And I promise to get back to you and hope to help out and support however you think we can be helpful. But thanks so much. And Mayor, I'll turn that back over. I'll turn the virtual mic back over to you. No one ever knows how to end these things in the virtual world. I usually would have just kind of, squandered off stage, but here I am. And so Mayor, I'm kicking it back to you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And I'm going to give it over to Alderman Randolph.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, Michael and Phyllis, thank you for that awesome presentation. I found it very, very informative, and I think that's always a value add when we, see partners who are kind of boots on the ground and seeing what's happening in the region. And Michael, I took a look at the link you put on the projects that have been supported by the Neighborhood Rising Fund, and so I can tell you, as an elected official, my wheels were already turning. Like, what could we do? And then kind of seeing the list of the projects, I think it exceeded what my mind was thinking of, how, a partnership with you guys could be leveraged. So again, thank you for that presentation. So as we look to wrap up and move towards adjournment, I have an announcement. If you haven't heard, Mayor Michelson's resigning from his position as the Kansas co-chair for the First Suburbs Coalition, since he recently accepted an alternate role on the MARC Board of Directors. So I'd like to thank Mayor Michelson for his service to this committee. It's been a pleasure working with Eric, and I wish you well as you transition over to the MARC Board of Directors and continue to serve the region. So appreciate you, sir. So we have an opening to serve as the Kansas co-chair. So if you are a local elected official in Kansas, or you know somebody who's a local elected official in Kansas that's interested in the position, please notify Lauren. With that, I will turn it over to Mayor Michelson.
Thank you, Alderman Randolph. And I do intend to stay very engaged with this group. And I just want to share a few parting thoughts while I have the microphone one last time. This is a very special group. And by special, I mean, you know, in particular, very helpful. It's been an honor and a privilege to have served in this role. I want to thank you, my co-chair, Alderman Randolph, and Lauren Palmer for making this fun and easy, and all of the MARC staff for your good work. You know, I don't need to convince any of you of this, but this group matters, and this group is helpful in the Kansas City region. Just as an example, in Prairie Village over the last couple years, this group has inspired and informed many changes in Prairie Village, including the expansion of our exterior grant program, the creation of a sustainability grant program, funding HVAC improvements for homes. We have underway right now an ad hoc housing committee to address affordability and diversity of housing in Prairie Village, inspired by many of the ideas and using many of the tools from this group. Our co-chair of that housing committee, John Burkle, is on the call here today. And I know all of us in our respective cities have examples like that. So this group really matters, and it affects people's lives. So I applaud all the good work and the guidance and the coordination, the regional coordination. These problems are bigger than any one city. And so groups like this are absolutely vital to finding the best solutions. So thank you. Our next meeting, which hopefully will be in person, is scheduled for Friday, April 15th. And that's 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. in Roland Park. So hope to see all of you in person there. And my final two words for tonight's meeting are go Chiefs. Have a great day and a great weekend.